On behalf of myself, Kristen Deichler, the principal of the middle school, and Kevin Maurer, the associate principal of the middle school, we welcome you with real joyful pleasure of having you. We are through and through middle school educators and leaders, and so it is always an exciting time when we get to look forward to welcoming a new class of sixth graders into the building. For me personally, I do just want to let you know that I am currently the principal of the middle school, but I'm also the assistant to the superintendent for secondary education. I'm holding both roles as we close out this school year, but for the start of the next school year, I will no longer be principal of the middle school. It was a very difficult and bittersweet decision. Very excited for the new opportunity because I certainly get to still work with the middle school, but the middle school has been my home for the last 20 years. I was a middle school educator at South Fayette Middle School, both in science and math at the sixth grade level for 14 years, and then transitioned as the assistant principal and then into the principal role. So it has been my home. Middle school students are my passion and love, and have been from the start of my career, and have always been the focus and priority for me. And now I just get to extend that to work at a new level. And I'll also let Mr. Maurer introduce himself and give you some information.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Yeah, I'm Kevin Maurer. I'm the associate principal here. I started as the assistant principal, and this will be, I'll be starting my 6th year in this role. I also was a band director and music teacher in the middle school here for 6 years. So my career has always been through middle school as well, and just like Ms. Deichler, have a passion for working with middle level students, and really focusing on adolescent development here in the middle school, and creating just a great culture here for students to grow, learn, develop in our middle school during the fun years of 6th, 7th, and 8th. So it's great to meet everyone virtually, and I look forward to meeting you in person in the future.
As we go through the presentation, there is a chat feature or box. It looks like a little talk bubble at the top of the screen. So as we're presenting, if you have any particular questions relative to what we're sharing, feel free to insert a question at that time. After this year, we are pretty adept at presenting, reading the chat screen, and answering questions because it might be timely and relevant to do so. And we don't want you to also lose track of that and miss it for later. Our mission statement at South Fayette is very much aligned with our middle school philosophy and how our leadership team and staff and faculty approach the middle school learning experience. And as you see our mission statement often, it is about that partnership with the community in order to cultivate academic, artistic, and athletic excellence of the whole child by fostering the skills to be confident, ethical, empathetic, and responsible global citizens. When I said that it aligns with our middle school philosophy, we really believe that the middle school years are the time in which students start to discover their passions, their interests, their strengths before it is cemented into kind of that pre-career college destination that a high school does. It really opens up some opportunities for them, whether that's in our curricular programs or in extracurricular activities, and exposes them to things that they may have not yet had a chance to learn about or to experience, and so they can consider that as an area that they want to further pursue in the future. And again, it's really an opportunity that was without any sort of penalty or commitment. So they don't have to make a decision that is lifelong or lasting, but they can really experience a lot of different areas, a lot of different learning opportunities, and see really what is best suited for them, and a lot of times things that they didn't even know that they would be interested in. And so the middle school is really about developing that whole child from an academic perspective, of course, the artistic and athletic ends, but also from a social and emotional perspective too. When we present each year, we always remind parents or share with parents that the time of adolescence, which is the heart of middle school, is the second fastest development stage. There is more development during this stage, only second to the birth and toddler years. So when you think about the early years from birth to 3, and so much of exposing your child to experiences and educations, but also the temper tantrums and the pushing the boundaries and learning new things and learning what's safe and not safe. The middle school and adolescent years are very similar to that, and it's only second that the brain, the body are going through as many changes and developing as they did during those first 3 years of life. So we often see a lot of similar behaviors with pushing boundaries and really trying to find out, where those boundaries exist, learning about friendships in a new way, like they do in those first years. Also just absorbing so much and learning about the world around them. So it's always interesting to keep that in mind. And I will say wholeheartedly, our staff is so equipped to know the developmental level of our students and approach them with that in mind as well.
And I would also add that the last part of our mission statement is important to us as middle level educators, because these years are the time that we focus on not only fostering, but building skills and being confident in the skills of being ethical, empathetic, and being responsible. And one layer that we have here in the middle school that your child will soon find out is the amount of community building that we do. Your child will be a part of various teams, a mini team that we'll talk about a little bit later, but also just belonging to a community. And we feel that this quote here really does represent and embodies the mission that we have in the middle school, that the greatness of a community is most accurately measured by the compassionate actions of its members. Our staff, our students are always trying to strive to show compassion and kindness to others, supporting others in our middle school community. Those are the behaviors that we focus on and instill in the students as they develop through these years.
So the intent of our presentation today is to give you some information critical to that transition, especially if this is your first child moving to the middle school. So some important context, and like we said, this presentation is recorded, so if you ever want to go back and grab these, but they're also accessible on our website. But two of the most frequent contacts you may have are with our administrative assistants. We have Mrs. Megan Kaliakovo and Mrs. Rebecca Bruce. Mrs. Bruce is our attendance secretary, so anytime that you're dealing with early dismissals or a late arrival to school, an absence, an educational trip, Rebecca Bruce would be your contact for that. Ms. Koliakovo is our administrative assistant that supports the principals, and so she really oversees kind of many functions and many roles, but is an invaluable resource and is a great contact for parents as well with any questions about extracurricular activities in terms of when do they meet, are they staying after today, transportation questions. She is just a wealth of information and a resource for parents to be familiar with.
So also available are our school counselors, our nurse, and our social worker, which we've given you the contact information for here on this slide. We do have 3 school counselors in our middle school, and for purposes regarding academics or for record-keeping purposes, the 3 school counselors have an alpha cut. Mrs. Perrott, Mrs. Justina Perrott, really does kind of manage the record keeping and the academic progress of students with last names A through G. Ms. Taylor Connors is our counselor for students with last names H through O. And Mr. Michael Perrott, who is Justina Perrott's husband, their husband and wife dynamic team duo that we have here at the middle school. He represents students with last names beginning with P to Z. Now, we say that the alpha cut is there, as we said, for record keeping, those type of things, but our students know, and we want our families to know, that our counselors are available. All 3 of them are available to your child at any time. If there's if your child is a female looking for a female counselor, or if there's a male student looking to speak to a male counselor about anything, then that's something that we can arrange, and that's easy. So they really do serve all of the students in our middle school, but for record keeping, as we said, those counselors represent those last names. We also have with us a social worker. We split between the high school. His name is Mr. Tanner Jones, and he is half-time at the middle school, half-time at the high school, but really is available for us here whenever we need him, and he's a great asset to our school community. And then finally, our nurse, who will be important if you need to communicate any medical for any medical reasons or for medication management and those type of things, Misty Minarchek is our nurse and is available there at that extension and email. So we just wanted to provide you with these important people in our middle school, as they are here for you and to serve your children.
Additionally, in our food court and nutritional services, Ms. Tricia Wood stays as the food service director for the district. Our kitchen leader or contact for the middle school kitchen is Mrs. Lisa Benor. So if there are any dietary concerns or any issues with anything related to meals, you can contact Mrs. Lisa Benor at the middle school. Students do have the opportunity to eat breakfast upon arrival, whether parent drop-off or bus transportation. Breakfast is available for purchase in the cafeteria each morning, and so that is something that families can take advantage of. And obviously we do have a regular meal lunch. Throughout our presentation today, there are some things, coming off of this year, a very untraditional, atypical year in which COVID and protocols have impacted it. We are not 100% certain or in a place where we know exactly what everything will look like for next year. And so, for example, this year, there was usually one choice for lunch. It was prepackaged, it was on the menu. However, if more choices become available, they will go back to, in our middle school lunch, having a main meal choice. We have a deli station, we have a salad bar, we have a pizza bar where pizza is offered each day. There are different options, sometimes with like fruit slushies. Some of those have been minimized this year, but a lot of that direction is going to come and be decided over the summer and based on the status of where situations are with protocols needed for school environments. So just wanted to address both, but typically students have many options during lunch. And like I said, there is breakfast offered. This year it's been one, but there is often many options, from just a bagel like a grab and go to something more significant like a breakfast meal or just like cereal. So all of those options, or the extent of those options, like you'll hear with other things, are not fully determined for next year and will be as we approach next school year.
So here we wanted to provide you with the teams that exist on the sixth grade team. And you can see here in this chart, we do have 4 teams that exist for sixth grade students. And the makeup of the teams are a little bit different depending on those teams, but your child will have one of these 4 teams, and those teachers will teach the core content, including math, English language arts, social studies for a semester, and science for a semester, half a year. And as you can see, some of the teams have 3 teachers, and then they share that 4th one teacher that flips teams, or they might be on a 2-person team where they have 2 teachers that teach 2 subjects. So this variety of teams is important to the middle school model, which we will continue to talk about, but teaming is an important part of the middle school experience. Your child will share those same teachers throughout the school day, and we do some fun things here in the middle school of creating team names. In the past, we've had students design and create their own team shirts. So all things that we're looking forward to doing in the future, and just celebrating what middle school means and sharing those teachers. So unlike their elementary years, they will be transitioning to different classrooms throughout the day. We will talk about how much time they spend with the teams, but we wanted to just provide you with the names of our teachers and their content areas that they teach. Here you see the outline of our special area team. So along with the sixth grade team, we have special areas where sixth grade students will take part in specials during the school day. Our days are set up in a 2-day rotation. Unlike the intermediate school or elementary school, we are on an A-B schedule. So on day A, your child will have 2 specials, and then on day B, they will have 2 different specials. And those specials range from wide variety here that they are exposed to or experience, and they're listed here. We have a wonderful special area team, and we are happy to provide many different content areas in under the umbrella of specials. here at the middle school. Additionally, one of those 4 specials that I had mentioned, whether it be on day A or day B, special 1 or 2, your child will have a world language offering, and the world languages that are offered here at the middle school are Spanish, French, and German. Additionally, we have our learning support staff or special education team, and in each grade level, we have our special education teachers, including Christine Thomas, Hunter Barnhart, Jeremy Hall, who is unlisted on here, and Nicole Canaferri. So those team of teachers are available, and they create a special environment in our 6th grade learning support round, where they are working on a co-teaching team, teaching with core content areas, or they are providing other learning support avenues and pathways for students with special needs.
So to give you an outline or an understanding of what the day is like for your 6th grade child, this is what the schedule is for a typical day. So students either arrive by family drop-off or bus transportation. Upon arrival, they will head to their homeroom, which 6th grade classrooms are located on the top floor of our building. And if you're familiar with our building, the newest wing, which is in the rear of the building, it faces the stadium. There are 3 levels, and those are our academic team wings. The top floor is 6th grade, the middle floor is 7th grade, and the bottom floor is 8th grade. And we have all 3 schedules running simultaneously, but they all run differently. So 6th grade is never in the hallway or commingling with 7th grade or 8th grade. Again, all 3 schedules run simultaneously, but separately. So 6th grade has its own insular schedule, travels on its own time, and not while the other grade levels are traveling. So the day starts by reporting to homeroom. The unique setup that we have in the middle school is that for nearly all students, their homeroom matches their Block 1 teacher. So homeroom, after attendance is taken and morning announcements take place, it rolls right in to Block 1. And as Mr. Maurer explained, students carry 3 core classes in 6th grade at a single time. And so we run on a block schedule. Classes are 80 minutes long for academic classes. So a Block 1, let's say, is the math class. After homeroom concludes at about 8:10, they roll right into Block 1 and have that for 80 minutes of uninterrupted instruction. Then they will travel to their Block 2, and as you saw, the mini teams, the same group of teachers teach the same cohort of students. That does not mean that the students stick with the same group and travel together all day. They shuffle and reassemble. It just means that if you have a group of teachers, that group of teachers keeps one cohort of students, but the students do not travel with the same schedule all day long. So after Block 1, they travel to Block 2. They have Block 2 for 10 minutes at first, and that is a actual productive time of going over agenda and assignments, checking homework. So it's a good kind of organizational time, because after those 10 minutes, they break and go to their special area classes. 6th grade has their 2 special area classes back to back, and we have an A-B day schedule, so only 2 days in the middle school. So they have their 2 A specials, that first special and second special, and then on the next day they'll have 2 different specials. That will be B day, and those 2 just keep flip-flopping, A and B. So altogether, students carry 4 specials at one time. One of those would be a world language, and then the 3 remaining are dependent on the choices that students make relative to music. If they're in an ensemble like band, chorus, or orchestra, that would take up one of those 4 slots. If they're not in an ensemble, then they're placed in another special area rotation, which includes a general music class. And then the other 2 specials are made up of rotations, including family and consumer science, physical education, health, and some of those, and STEAM, just thinking of all of them, art as well, but they're set up in 2 other rotations that make up those 4 blocks. After they have their 2 specials, they then move back to Block 2, and they have the remaining 70 minutes in Block 2 of instruction. From there, they travel to lunch. They have our 3rd lunch, but only 6th grade eats lunch together, and we'll talk about our typical lunch procedures here later in our presentation. After lunch, they finish the day in block 3, so their last core class. And then the last 20 minutes of our day are an activity period. Activity period has multiple purposes and functions. It can be a time for students to receive tutoring or extra reinforcement from any teacher, and they could travel to that teacher's room in the building, and that's of course during a typical year. It could be a fun time in their homeroom period. Some teachers do like a game, or they have some sort of mini competitions within their classrooms where they set up. It can be time to do homework. It can be time to visit the library or read independently. So again, it's that awareness of our developmental needs of our adolescents and the opportunity to build community within their homeroom, but also for them to seek out either interests or additional help that they may need academically. And then we have our dismissal at the end of the day.
So one thing we ask of you as parents is to receive and read the communications that come from our middle school. We utilize School Messenger as our communications platform, which I believe most of you are used to through the intermediate school. And I know that you received the message from us here at the middle school through School Messenger regarding this meeting. We will continue to use School Messenger here in the middle school. You will see the message come through with the sender as MS Office, or a principal's name as the sender. Also, this is sent to 2 emails that are registered in PowerSchool. And that's important for you to know because that's how the record is pulled. So it's important to make sure that the emails that are stored in PowerSchool are the correct emails that you check and that you have access to and you're able to check regularly. So School Messenger really just uses those email addresses stored in PowerSchool to distribute. There is really no distribution list that you have to sign up for. There's nothing additionally you have to do. But as I said, just ensuring that on your parent portal in PowerSchool that the emails that are registered are the correct email addresses that you'd like the emails to be sent to. We also send weekly announcements. These are virtual announcements that are sent in a virtual document that will be sent again via School Messenger on the last day of each week. They may have links to various flyers or announcements, but that's an easy way to kind of stay up to speed on what's happening here in the middle school as it comes weekly and really outlines what's happening here and the up-to-date announcements that are available. And also that link to the weekly announcements can be accessed daily via our school website by going to southfayette.org and then going to the middle school tab on the drop down to middle school. You will find the link to these weekly announcements. Additionally, our PAC meetings are a great way to learn more about our middle school. Kind of what they really do is provide an inside glimpse into what happens here in our middle school. Often we host these quarterly, and often we have our staff or our students present various items, various happenings, events, things that are happening in the classroom or outside of the classroom. Just really give you an insider look into what the middle school looks like. So we do invite you to attend our PAC meetings. That stands for Parent Advisory Council. We also, lean on our PAC to kind of help provide us with support, whether it be, planning a school-wide event or supporting us through our advisory program. But again, it's another great way to just learn about our middle school and be a parent partner and be involved. Currently, this year we have been providing our PAC meetings virtually, just like we are today. We are hoping to continue to offer virtual meetings so that we have found that more parents can join us live during that time from wherever they are. So it's one thing that we have learned that has been a plus out of the pandemic here, providing these virtually. It also allows us to record our meetings and provide them for parents later. And then also, one of the big communication events that we have is our student-led conferencing model, which is unique to middle school. We ask our students, the students have the option to create a student-led conference. This takes place at the traditional parent-teacher conference, but here in the middle school, we really feel that the students are the most important part of that meeting. So why not put them kind of front and center in leading the conference? So our teachers, our staff work with students during those activity period times Ms. Dykler was referring to, and they really prepare a presentation where they talk about strengths, areas for growth, and really give a full picture using different electronic tools, whether it be Google Slides or Google Sites, and that will take place in the fall. So we'll have information regarding student-led conferencing through those communications we had mentioned.
And something that I think is important, as I mentioned, I taught sixth grade for my entire teaching career, and a big kind of question mark for parents was that crossover into middle school. How much support, how much involvement should I have as a parent? I mean, they're in sixth grade. Should I back off entirely? And the best recommendation that we always have, there will be a difference in terms of the experience from K to 5 of the PTA and the parent involvement from that aspect in those types of events. However, the middle school is an open door and always welcomes and invites parent communication. So although it may not come packaged in the same way, we'd love for everyone to participate in PAC, but down to the teacher level, parents have such a valuable perspective and history of a child that teachers don't always get right away. And so to communicate with teachers proactively is always welcomed. And they really do. That's not something we're just putting out there and the teachers don't know we're saying it. They benefit from that, and they are willing and ready to meet with you and learn from you about your child. And in terms of how much to kind of stand over their shoulder and how much to back off, it is a balancing act. But the thing is, it's always better to err on the side of providing support and not backing off until your child has indicated the readiness to do that. Some sixth graders are not ready to be released on their own. And sometimes when they are, they stumble through some experiences of frustration and lower academic performances that they haven't had before because they're not developmentally ready yet to just be released, to advocate for themselves, to time manage, to have organizational skills. And so a lot in the beginning is really maintaining that, real close eye on them to make sure that their transition is going smoothly, that they are developing those organizational and time management skills, that the teachers are also working with them on that, and just really collaboratively supporting that. And as the year goes on and you can see that good routines have been established, then it's time that you can kind of back off a little. But it is not, and in my professional experience, it's never been the most successful for a sixth grader just to start and believe that middle school is the time for them to try it on their own. To be very honest, in some cases, students and children need you more at the beginning of sixth grade and during times in middle school than they may have needed you K through 5. And that's, again, going back to what we've shared about the changes and the growth and the development that's happening in their brain, in their bodies, in social emotional aspects. And so without having the sense that they really have good established routines, it is best to stay kind of close with them. I mean, you have to give them some independence, but not to just let them go on their own. Speaking of staying organized in the middle school, for our sixth graders, we do provide those planners or agendas. They will receive that on the first day. And the team of teachers is really good at setting up a routine within their own classrooms of filling out those agendas, marking not only short-term but long-term assignments, and now having Canvas and Canvas calendar in which teachers can link their assignments in terms of due dates. That Canvas calendar is a great feature. There are other features that students become preferentially attached to in their laptops using, whether that's Post-it notes on the desktop, whether that's a Google Doc of listing assignments. But organization is something that is a learned strategy, not something that we're all born with. And so the teachers do, like I say, take a time at the start of each class, really developing what is something they should be recording in their agenda or their planner method, and knowing not just short-term but long-term, and how to really plan for those long-term, whether it's an assessment coming up in a week or a long-term speech that they have to be prepared to give. The middle school also has a homework hotline. The name is a little misleading. It's only because we've called it that for my entire career, and it used to be a phone number that you would call and listen to a long recording. So we just kept the name, but it's no longer a phone call. It's actually a doc that you can access, parents can access, students can access through the middle school website. It's outlined by grade level. You can click on it, know what assignments are assigned before your child even gets home from the school day. So you can see that, and you can, and a great strategy is to help with that organizational skill. You already know what's outlined on the homework hotline. So when your child comes home, have them tell you what they believe their assignments are, match it with the homework hotline, compare what they have in their agenda to the homework hotline. That's a good reinforcement of that organization that is to be developed, but it's also a good kind of catch for you to have an idea of what the assignments are, and know when major assessments are coming up. We always recommend that you know your child's username and password. The beautiful addition of ClassLink a couple of years ago, that is the one key link to all of the accounts, is very helpful. But in case you don't have your child's laptop and you want to be able to check on something that uses their username and password, whether that's see their Canvas account, whether that is to get into their Google Drive, you would need to know their username and password. We highly encourage extracurricular participation at the middle school. There have been research studies that said when students are involved, whether that's with school affiliated events or something in your own environment, whether that's based in religion, based in athletics, based in arts, but decided by an outside organization, the research has shown that when a student has those extracurricular activities and has a calendar and can strike a balance with that, they often perform better academically. We also know that it gives them social and emotional experiences to have with other students of like ages. We have a long list of extracurriculars. Again, they were impacted slightly this year, had to be in sometimes hybrid or virtual mode, with the hope and anticipation that they would return more in person. There is something, just about something for everyone, I would think, but a lot of opportunities for students to build community, to build like interests with students who are also in a similar club, and to build an identity. But like I said, if your child already has a full schedule with gymnastics outside of South Fayette, ice skating, karate, musical lessons, that's excellent as well, and fulfills having that balance between the schoolwork and the extracurricular participation. And the last thing, and as a sixth grade former educator, I would always tell parents and students that when it says no homework in middle school, that does not always mean no work, that no homework sometimes is an invisible assignment, and especially with test preparation. If I could share one thing with parents coming into the middle school over my time as both an educator and administrator, is the idea of test preparation. We see a big shift in that skill between K-5 and then 6 to 8. Where it can't be the night before, and oftentimes we have to look to different test-taking strategies, which the sixth grade team works on with the students, because how you might study for math is different than how you might study for an ELA test or a science test. And again, much like organization or time management, we are not born inherently with test-taking skills. They are things that we have to learn, and it's also like Goldilocks. We also have to try a lot of test-taking strategies before one works for us or one works for a certain content area. Sometimes that's doing actual practice of the skill. Sometimes that's engaging with an adult and having them ask questions. Sometimes it's rereading chapters. There are many different strategies, and like I said, the teachers share that with them, but keep in mind, when an agenda, the homework hotline says no homework, to not lose sight of an awareness that a test might be coming up in 4 days, and not to wait until that last night, that you could break it up into a little bit of studying night 1, a little bit more night 2, a little bit more night 3, and a little bit more that night before the test, in order to build retention, in order to build confidence in your child, and to give them those opportunities to build test-taking strategies.
So as I had mentioned earlier, teaming at the middle school is unique to our school, and it's something we're passionate about. It's something that we love having as a middle school because it really does create a more individualized academic environment for students. It allows students to feel a little more freedom. They have more teachers than just one throughout the day. And with that comes some responsibility that we work on together here through the team. But it also enables our teachers to feel that they are on the team as well. So they are sharing best practices, in regards to curriculum, instruction, for assessment. Our teams in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade are always working together, not only on a mini team of different content areas, but we also have department level teams where they're working across the same content to prepare assignments, common assessments, those type of things, working on curriculum together. So the teaming model is special to the middle school. It also really does foster collaboration and communication between the students. The students feel a part of a team, that sense of belonging that we feel is very important for adolescent development, that they feel that they belong. So as we said, we come up with cute names, with fun t-shirts, with any type of way that our students can come in feeling that they belong to a group, a team here. It also allows students to create new friendships, broaden friend groups that exist, and have social interactions with students that they may not have had in the past in their intermediate school years. So really that broadening that idea where they are collaborating with others, learning qualities about new students, and just really creating that larger friend group is something that we really do cherish here in the middle school, giving those students that opportunity to learn others. And it also, again, offers the team meeting times. So as Ms. Deichler had said, it allows our teachers to meet together as a team with parents, with families, and if you request to meet, then we have time allotted, whether it be in the morning, during an activity period time. We've been very flexible, but also that team time during the day that can be available for parents to access all of their child's teachers at one time. So that's something we feel is very important because we talk about things that we're seeing across all content areas, and we can talk together as a team dynamic of how we can best meet the needs of your child. So teaming is important to our school.
Yes, I mean, the benefit, as Mr. Maurer was describing, is going into this, you consistently have 3 adults or 2 adults, depending on the mini team, that every day have time who meet and talk about their students. They have a gauge that they're taking every day, whether, they see a change in a student that they need to reach out to the family. They celebrate successes. And so consistently, unlike other models in other schools where kids are just bouncing around between teachers, every day there's dedicated time that those teachers are meeting, talking about their content area, their students, and have that time to meet with you as well, should they need to reach out to you. To address the question, School Messenger is certainly more for school-wide communications that come out of the office for sure. For class group, like the mini teams that we're talking about, most of the mini teams have a weekly newsletter or communication in which they will, at the beginning, collect your preferred email contact address, and they will set up their own distribution list just out of those core teachers, and they'll send you like a weekly greeting that tells things that are coming up, what content, what skills are being studied, if there are any tests, recognizing students or staff if exciting things have happened. So, they take different forms, whatever fits that mini team best, but it's like a weekly announcement or a newsletter. Also, things that are more common communications from those mini teams are the email distributions and Canvas. A lot of times they will put announcements on Canvas that students are able to see and can share. We don't have a Remind app system where we all use it, but there are some teachers who do employ that individually, and that would be a part of their classroom communications at the beginning of the year, that they would notify you of how to set up. And a lot of them use it as reminders, like reminder, math test this Friday, just real quick reminders. But that is not something that across the grade level everybody uses. That's more on an individual teacher basis. The most consistent communication out of a core group of teachers, a mini team, would be through email and through email communications that they consistently provide for parents and families. So this goes back to also the part that we shared about being aware of the developmental changes that happen in middle school. So, you know, as principals, we always have the great ability to be able to know that and see that about kids, but we also sometimes have the unfortunate responsibility of talking to kids when they are facing adversity or they have to accept responsibility for maybe making a poor choice or pushing boundaries beyond where it should be for them or should be for another student. And we always just remind parents to be a partner with us in this, where we have as our focus and our priority your child, but at times your child may make decisions that lead to consequences. And it may be the first time they've ever faced it in their whole educational career, because developmentally during middle school, their brain isn't fully formed to make the decisions that they have been taught by you or taught by a school system over and over. Sometimes there's social influences that, you know, they know better, but they're also figuring that system out. And so part of our responsibility is to let them know that there are boundaries and there are expectations, and we do hold them accountable, and there will be consequences to help them in that development of their brain and their social and emotional growth, to know, again, those boundaries for themselves, those boundaries for others, and really minding those. And so, you know, you may, hopefully not, but you may receive a, you know, contact from a principal about one of those choices that leads to a variety of consequences, and know that we're always seeking partnership in that and not doing it in a punitive way or in a way in which we're trying to damage a child, but trying to help them become that better whole child and citizen. And also academically, they may face adversity. The adjustment at the beginning of 6th grade is one that is new for them, and it's new in terms of having multiple teachers, learning that schedule, learning time management. And so it may take an adjustment period. Some children just, you know, naturally adjust, and some children have a longer adjustment period where they face some adversity academically, that they have to figure out how to, you know, study for tests because they've never really done that practice before. They were able to really be in a single or a double classroom, get all of the information and do relatively well. And that there's maybe just a little bit larger of an academic ask, or they're balancing more classes, more teachers at once. And so they have to learn some additional skills to overcome that adversity. And that goes back to the communication. If your child is facing adversity, please don't hold on to that without letting the school know, because we also have resources and tools that can help you as a parent, guardian. It can also help your child, you know, through that and make the adjustment should they face that better.
So we wanted to provide you with some information about how lunch works here at the middle school. It's often a frequently asked question by our incoming 6th grade students. And the question is always, we hear that we get to pick our own seats. You know, what to tell us more about that? It is an exciting time. We do want the students to have that chance, that opportunity, that ability to be able to kind of navigate, first of all, our hallways. They won't be really walking single file with a teacher guided by an adult. They really do have that freedom. So we do work on those expectations of hallway behavior, traveling from class to class. They also get to travel on their own or with their class to lunch. And during that time, we do, at the beginning of the school year, have an open seating process where over the span of about 2 weeks, we allow students to kind of navigate the cafeteria where they'd like to sit. Maybe there's a friend group they'd like to sit with. Our tables are, you know, in a typical year, our tables are set up where we can have about 24 students seated at one table. So it really does allow for us to have some autonomy and being able to move students if maybe there's a breakdown in a friend group, and you know, our students can work with our counselors and with us as administrators in the building just to find the best, most comfortable place for them to eat. But we do give them that option to really kind of navigate on their own, because we're trying to give our students a little more freedom here in the middle school, so that they can kind of learn what that's like to have that responsibility. After that open seating window, we do have students then select assigned tables. They're actually assigned to a table that they choose, and that has allowed us in a typical year, as I said, this year has been a little different due to the mitigation efforts with the pandemic. But in a typical year, students then have a table that they're assigned to, and in that table can kind of move a little freely, so they're not assigned to an exact seat, but more to a table. And that gives students a chance to have that freedom, but it also gives us the ability to create a safety and emergency plan, as obviously that is a top priority, is the safety of our students. We need to know where they are in our large spaces like our cafeteria. So after that 2-week open seating period in the beginning of the year, we ask students to select that table where they'll be seated. And from there, we then create seating charts, just like in a classroom, so that we can locate students if we need to. Also, one thing that we note about lunch is that in the second semester, we open that seating again. We know that friendships may change, that there may be more desired locations to sit with, or students to sit with. So we ask that we give that responsibility again to students in the coming back from our holiday break, our winter break, where students have the chance to again kind of create their own seat again, or their own table in the cafeteria. And then we lock them in again for the remainder of the year to that table, where we know exactly where they are if we need to know where they are. One thing that we wanted to note too, from the intermediate school to middle school, is that the student IDs stay exactly the same. They don't need to know a new code, a new lunch code, or anything is given to them. Their lunch code remains the same. And as far as the online portal goes, it all remains consistent. So if you had accessed that through, as a parent, that will continue here in middle school. So the students know their lunch code. As they purchase their lunch, they would access the registers and punch in their code that they have already been using.
A part that we want you to be familiar with is parent guardian drop off and pickup at the middle school, if that is your preference. And again, yes, so you will continue to use the same PowerSchool for grades and assignments. That carries over as well, and it is used a lot more, I would say, frequently in the middle school, I think gradually as it was introduced in the intermediate school, but it is the place in which scores are put for your child in terms of their grades, and you can monitor their progress there. So yes, that is maintained. But you're welcome. Talking about drop off and pickup, this is for a typical year. We had to make, revisions for this year in terms of our mitigation efforts. But you are permitted to drop your child off every day or any day. You can use both drop off and district transportation. We just ask, because of the way our campus is built and the drive that we have in the front of the middle school, you yourself may have experienced this on certain days, that if every car tries to wait to drop off at the center for their child to walk in, we will create a backup on Old Oakdale Road. And so we always just ask that cars pull up along the curb as far as possible. We do have our security team out there to help also direct that. And that's as far down to the gym and pool. And they are, again, monitor their adults out there so that they do enter the school safely. But we ask that you don't wait to drop them to the center of the nearest, because it creates a backup, and then that traffic flow gets really messed up on Old Oakdale Road. Parent drop-off occurs between 7:35 and 8 a.m. It is that window of time. And if it is earlier in that time, that is a possibility for your child to take advantage of breakfast should they want. If they come earlier and do not want to take care or do not want to take advantage of breakfast, we do have a place that they are supervised and held until they are released. Most of our buses arrive between 7:45 and 8 o'clock. So if a drop off is a little bit earlier, we have a place in which they go and they are supervised by adults. For parent guardian pickup at the end of the day, under a normal year, you would email or send in a note with your child indicating that there would be parent guardian pickup. The park Parking situation is in the pool parking lot. So if you are picking your child up at the end of the day, most often the spaces in the front of the building are all utilized by staff. If there are any available towards the end, you're welcome to them, but most parents have to park in the pool parking lot and then head to the main office waiting area. You would get signed out with Mrs. Bruce at that point, and your ID would be needed just to have everything be safe and secure for your child's release.
So as Ms. Deichler had mentioned earlier, extracurricular clubs and activities are such an important part of our middle school experience. And we really do try to promote these clubs because we find that in middle school, a lot of times students are looking for, where they belong, who they are. They're reflecting on, who they fit in with. And we feel very strongly that clubs are a great outlet. They're not only just a great way to, for students to express themselves, in an artistic way or an academic way or an athletic way. It's also an opportunity for students to build circles of friend groups, because we find in middle school that, as we call it, the drama of middle school, that there may be times where there's a breakdown of a friend group, or something maybe isn't going as well as usual, or there's some sort of breakdown. And at that time, we find that the students that have other friend groups, circles of friends, whether that might be through the art club or through the musical, they have a whole new group of friends that they can kind of turn to when one group of friends isn't working out as well. So we have found that is really a successful route socially and emotionally for our students. So it's something that we really do promote. We have the full list of clubs can be found online on the middle school website in our middle school handbook. It really outlines every club, what's available to students. The way that students can sign up for these clubs are in the very beginning of the year. Typically, most of the clubs will be announced in the beginning, what the sign-up window, how students can join, and through those announcements that we had mentioned, through the weekly announcements that are on the website. They're also over the intercom, the PA system that we use here for morning announcements. Students will hear the opportunities. Sign up for Lion Hearts by doing this. Stay after school on this day. And communications will go out to you as far as permission slips and those type of things. But we ask students to just keep an ear out and an eye out for opportunities to join these clubs, because each one of these clubs has an adult club sponsor who will kind of be directing the expectations of the club, the frequency of the meetings. Some of these clubs meet quarterly, some of them meet even more frequently, whether it be weekly. It really just depends on the club. And as I said, information is given by the club sponsors for students, and they can really make that determination of which club they're interested in. But we do ask that, and we promote that students really try things out. This is a great time in middle school where they're learning about themselves, again, who they fit in with, where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are, where they love to improve, what they're passionate about. And these clubs offer a wide range of opportunities for students to do that. So another thing we'd like to mention is that currently there is no activity bus provided. So students need to arrange for transportation home. That has been what the plan moving forward here is that students need to provide transportation, whether that be through a family friend or through a parent or guardian. So we just wanted to make you aware of that. But again, we can't say enough great things about our clubs and what they offer to adolescents, because we feel that it's just a great time to explore. So we're going to end our meeting today with this was actually a video that our students, our current 6th grade students, put together. This was a video that all of our 5th grade students were able to watch a few weeks ago, as we did kind of a virtual move-up day to middle school and gave students just an insider look. But we felt it was very important for our 5th graders to hear kind of from the 6th grade lens of what to expect. And so we gave the 5th grade students an opportunity to ask questions. And the 5th grade teachers collected those questions, and our 6th grade students put together kind of like almost a top 10 of the Q&A and giving answers. And you'll see from the student lens, what's important to students. And this really does give you just a different perspective instead of us adults talking about what middle school's like. So we'd like to show you this short video that was created by our 6th grade students.
You have questions, we have answers.
Specials.
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 Specials. Tech ed.
In tech ed, we code and we do stuff in the wood shop.
Art.
In art, we learn how to draw and shade.
Chorus, band, orchestra.
Music.
In 6th grade, you get to choose from either chorus, orchestra, band, or music.
Also in 6th grade, you take phys ed, health, and swim.
In gym and swim, you have about 5 minutes to get dressed and get back to class.
In STEAM, we get to prototype and be entrepreneurs.
On the days you don't have specials, you have world language.
In 6th grade, your specials are every other day, and your specials are graded.
Most specials switch around 12 weeks. Your specials will change every year.
Lunch.
Usually at lunch, we have a bunch of choices.
There are varieties of foods. You get either the main meal, the pizza meal, the sandwich meal, or the yogurt meal.
Pizza.
And every other week, they have slushies.
You get to pick your seat for lunch.
The one thing that people like about middle school lunches is that you can pick your seats.
Lockers.
When you first get your locker combination, you get time to practice opening it.
On the first day, you get your lockers. Your teachers explain how to open them, and then you get to practice a bit.
If you forget your locker combination, you can just ask a teacher.
In middle school, there are many clubs you can join. I joined the middle school musical. It was really fun.
There are a bunch of clubs here at the middle school.
Cell phones.
As soon as you enter the building, cell phones are supposed to be turned off and in your backpack.
Cell phones are turned off when you leave the bus in the morning and turned on when you get back on the bus.
Over the summer, you will get information on how to tour the school and when you will get your schedule.
You will also receive a student handbook that lets you know things like detention and dress code.
In the student handbook, you will find subjects like appropriate clothing, cell phone use, detention, attendance, and grading.
Homework.
It's best to do your homework when you first get home from school.
Sometimes you can get your homework done at activity period.
If you're doing something else at activity period, the next best time to do your homework is at home, right when you get off of the bus.
The easiest way to manage your homework is to stay organized.
You usually get 1 or 2 pages of homework per class. The best advice I can give you about homework is to make sure you do it.
Teachers. When you get to school, just remember the teachers are here to help.
Don't be afraid to ask the teachers for help whenever you need it.
In middle school, you need to make sure that you're able to manage your time for studying, homework, and even some free time.
Middle school isn't actually a scary place at all.
It's not that scary.
So we know any change or transition is always met with some, apprehension and nerves of unknowingness. And that is completely normal. But also keep in mind as parents that middle school educators are a really special sort. Like we as a team and as a middle school family of educators love what we do and only teach at the middle school because we want to teach that age group. And so, as I said earlier, our staff has a really good understanding of the developmental levels. And they also, particularly with sixth grade, know what those first few weeks and months are like for them. And when they come in the first day, it is not an expectation that they know how to manage everything in middle school. A lot of the first few days and weeks of sixth grade are really getting them acclimated to the environment. They don't have to know where their classes are. They will be escorted to the classes, usually for the first week or longer if the students need it. They don't have to know how to manage a combination lock on the first day. That's usually the biggest worry for all students. It's, the lock is embedded and built in, and, how are they going to remember their combination? What if they forget it, or what if they don't know how to turn it? The teachers really are prepared and knowing and patient with all of that. Your children are in really good hands and are in with a team that knows what the transition year is like. So we still have meet the teacher at the beginning of the year. Our hope and desire is yes. It fits into a category for which we still have to wait for some guidelines and things that are decided on a district level, but that would be our intention, that we have meet the teacher. At the middle school, we do meet the teacher in a normal year for sixth grade core teachers only. So you have the opportunity to see the team of teachers that your child would be assigned to and see their classrooms and physical space. If there are any limitations, I should say, to that, we would still replicate it in a way that we can that's best and possible. So, we have, like I said, hopes and intentions that, as we head into August, there will be opportunities to get your children into the building should they want to take a tour and see it, for you to come to another meeting, a general session related to information about middle school. And again, if we're limited in any way, we will replicate that in a way that we can still reach our audiences. Mr. Davis, I believe that that would be at a state level. Our vaccinations, such as the other mandated vaccinations, come at a state level, whether they are mandatory or not. We have to follow the guidelines by the state health department as to what is required and what is not required. I do not have any further information relating to that. We do know that 12 to 15-year-olds are opening up, and so the sixth grade will be kind of that borderline grade level where 12 usually doesn't happen until the end of the year. I don't have any further definitive answers on that, but we usually, related to any vaccines, follow the guidelines outlined by the state. If you have any questions, feel free, as people have been putting them in the chat. Thank you, Selena. Thank you. It is, we get the apprehension, we certainly do, but we really do think it's a special place, and we really do work our hardest to make it a place that supports them socially, emotionally, academically, artistically, and athletically. We really do look at that whole child. It's not without its road bumps. It's just a developmental time that is not typically free of those, but you also know that you have partners in education that understand and are willing to work with you. And so also make sure to take advantage of that, whether that's a classroom teacher, whether that's a school counselor. Our social worker is a wealth of resources that can connect families with outside resources, depending on if there's a special situation or need that a family is going through.
One thing I wanted to add too is a common question, especially from parents and also students that are just apprehensive about the transition. Our sixth grade team is excellent. They've been through this how many years with incoming, sixth grade students. And one thing that I will say is that even though we shared that schedule that happens in sixth grade, that actual schedule won't even occur until probably the second week at the earliest, because that first week, bringing the students in. It's all about learning where everything is. Our teachers walk the students around the building to see where the locations of their specials classes are, where their core team of teachers, where their classrooms are. They are working with students on their lockers and working through locker combinations in the hallways. Making sure that students never feel that they're lost. And I'll even say our entire staff is on those first couple of days. They're out in the hallways making sure those sixth grade students know where they're going, how to read their schedule. The sixth grade teachers take time looking at the schedule and highlighting their day on the schedule that you receive. So all of that is built in those first couple days, which really gives those sixth grade students a peace of mind. They're not going to come here on day one expected to know where everything is and to navigate the building. Our sixth grade teachers have put in a lot of time to make sure that students feel comfortable in those first days. Another big one is, yes, we do have the pool here in the middle school. We're the lucky school that has the swimming pool. And we do offer that aquatics to sixth grade students. And even though it might be on your child's schedule for day one that they have aquatics, not to worry, they will not be getting in the water on day one. Our aquatics teacher is excellent, works with the students. They don't need to even have the change of their swimsuit on day one. It's really just learning about the curriculum, learning where the pool is, where they get changed, the process, the routines that they will take part in during that aquatics class and course. But they are not they're not going to be thrown into the pool on day one and that type of thing. We do really work on building and planning those layers of support for students so that they really do feel comfortable before really jumping into the courses.
So in response to the last question that is in there, the middle school in particular has not had an abundance of positive COVID cases recently. You're notified when positive cases happen in a building. I believe we would have had one potentially in the last 3 to 4 weeks. So our numbers have gone down significantly, but that is a fluid situation. And, depending on personal choice with the vaccination, there's probably also going to be impacts from that. The situation of any child who is identified under the current practices with COVID is that they are isolated. And we follow the Allegheny Health Department's guidelines for that. So they are isolated and do not attend school physically. In terms of what all is the program situation for next year, K to 12. That is really yet to be determined 100% as well, because we're in a very different place as of now, this meeting, that we were even a month ago in terms of the vaccination now being available for all the way down to 12 years. We're also in different numbers with the virus. And so as that evolves as a school, we also have to, evolve and be aware of that. So the team K to 12, because it's a district-wide decision, not school by school, will be working on and communicating as soon as we can and making sure communications are effective so that you're aware of what those options may be coming off of this year. As a reminder, we are also in a change with our superintendent. We will be the process, I believe, is taking place. So we don't have any information, but a new superintendent will be coming on board for the district. So that is another consideration as we make our plans going into next school year. But we just don't have any definites because of the situation. And, it is a K to 12 planning decision from the district aspect. We do, you're welcome. We do know that the intention, and this has been communicated in both spoken board meetings and written communications, that we are returning 5 days in person next year. So that is one that has been communicated, and that is in our intention. So it would just be if there's any other, options or necessities based on what the situation in the pandemic is. Any other questions?
We know that the pandemic has created some extra challenges for students and for us as adults, and we also know that there seems to be a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel here. And one thing that, Ms. Decker and I will tell you is there's nothing like the events that occur during the middle school years. We have in a typical year, an in-person talent show that occurs. We have a day of giving that happens before the fall break, and it's those times we have an advisory program in the middle school that we, as I said, during a typical year, where students choose their own adult advisor, and they meet with their advisor in a 1-hour delay once a month, and then also have time during activity periods to meet with that advisor, because we feel it's important for students to have that adult, that champion here at the middle school that they can turn to for advice, in addition to the counselors and the services we already provide. The advisory program is a program where students can, it's actually the only time during the school day that our 6th through 8th graders meet together. During that time, they do different activities, and there's different lessons taught during that time. So, as far as assemblies and, different things that occur during the school year, those are the moments that, our students of the past will say that they cherish and love and will remember those memories that they have, whether it be a Steeler pep rally or those type of events. Those are the things that really make middle school. And we can't wait to get back to that type of feel again, when we can have the larger gatherings and host those types of events and activities and assemblies here in the middle school. So something that we're all looking forward to as we kind of look at what a post-pandemic education model looks like for middle school. And another one of those are the hands-on learning experiences that happen in the classroom, that project-based learning that is so important to the teaming model, where students are working together collaboratively. We've been able to do that this year through Google Meet, and whether they're in breakout rooms and those type of things, but nothing can really replace that in-person, hands-on teaming and collaboration that occurs in the classroom. So we're really looking forward to providing that and getting back to that in this upcoming school year. And we appreciate your flexibility. We know that there are the questions, there are the challenges that still remain with the pandemic, and we just appreciate your flexibility, your willingness to partner with us as we really just try to create the best experience for your child. So we are excited to welcome you and your children to our middle school next year. We are thrilled to meet some new faces, to have some new students. It's always an exciting time. We know that there's nerves, but there's also that excitement. And our teachers are also excited to welcome a new class. We've only heard good things about the incoming 5th grade class from the 5th grade team of teachers in the intermediate school and the principals in the intermediate school. So we are excited to welcome a brand new class here to our school next year. So thank you all very much for attending today live in person. We hope that you continue to be engaged and involved in your children's learning through middle school, as we said, especially in that 6th grade year where there is that kind of middle ground, that handoff to more independence and freedom. But we appreciate your support in your child's development. So thank you.
Thank you. And if you have any questions, do not hesitate as you're approaching the 6th grade year. Feel free to reach out to Mr. Maurer, myself. Even though, as I had explained, I'm transitioning out, I certainly have the knowledge of the middle school. Happy to help or happy to point you in the right direction. You are welcome to reach out to the counselors. You can use the alphabet, the first letter of your child's last name, as a first contact. So if you have questions about scheduling or courses, or just, you have certain concerns going into next year and you want to kind of have that talked out prior to day one, please reach out to us. Again, you have our contact information through this presentation if you go back to the beginning, or if you utilize the website, you can find it there. But we thank you so much for the time. Know that your kids are in good hands and that we are so much looking forward to them joining us next year. We hope everybody has a really safe and wonderful summer for the time before we get to meet everybody in person. So take care, all the best to you, and we look forward to next year. Everybody is most welcome. Thank you.